Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Win or Bin, although today we're not quite doing a win or bin. I've been checking out Into the Fire during its playtest, so this is a bit more of a here's what I think so far kind of video, a bit like the last one I did as well. I went into the Fire expecting a pretty standard survival game with a volcano skin on top. Instead, it ended up being one of those games that keeps you thinking, right, just one more run, even while it is actively trying to roast you alive. The basic loop is simple, but it works well on paper. You are based in a safer hub, and from there, you head out into ruined towns and dangerous areas to gather materials, food, and anything else you can carry back. Those resources then feed into your camp, where you can build up different structures, help survivors, and slowly make your base more useful. And that camp part matters. It's not just about hard work. The game gives you this sense that every trip out is feeding something bigger back home, whether that is a new building, a new survivor, or just a better chance of staying alive for another day. So I must admit, when I had my first attempt, I was thrust straight into a town setting, and everything was on fire. I didn't really know what to do. There wasn't much of a tutorial going on, although there was something. So I was a little bit lost. I ended up going back to the camp, working out how to then leave the camp after quite a while, which is my own fault. But then, yeah, once I got back into the town and started to explore a bit more, I thought, okay, now it makes a bit of sense. I've got to go and find some things, bring them back, and build the things that I have available to me from the build menu. What makes it stand out, though, is the pressure. You're not just scavenging in some empty apocalypse. You're scavenging in a place where the environment itself is the enemy. Falling debris, collapsing buildings, the heat, fire, anomalies, and these little fire sprite enemies that keep chasing you around all make every run feel a bit panicky. Visually, it does a decent job. It has a slightly cartoony style to the animation and overall presentation, but it still sells the danger really well. The fire feels nasty, although from a distance it looks a bit rubbish, I'll admit, but don't let that be too critical because, this is just a playtest, of course. The world feels unstable, and there is this constant sense that the place is falling apart around you. That is probably the biggest strength for me so far, the atmosphere. It gets you that claustrophobic, stressed out feeling. You are out in the ruins, trying to grab what you can, and the game keeps reminding you that you are not welcome there. For me, the best looking bits are actually the outside of buildings. They have storefronts, there's barns, there's houses, or at least seem like houses. But once you get into the houses, I guess they are a little bit more generic. But yeah, the outsides look kind of cool, and the settings of the towns and the little areas in the towns look good too. At its best, the game is genuinely fun. Exploring wreck structures, finding useful loot, and deciding what to bring back to the camp all scratches that survival management itch. I also like the shopping list idea, being able to choose a building that you like, but you don't have the resources for it, so you have like a little list on the side of what you need to find when you are out scavenging, because it keeps the scavenging focused, and to be honest with you, I think that's better than just randomly picking up things and hoping you find the right stuff. There is a nice sense of purpose to each run early on. You go out, you collect stuff, you bring it back, and that feeds directly into the camp and the people you have rescued. That loop is probably the reason I kept wanting to see more. The bit that surprised me most about this was the atmosphere. As I say, it does have that claustrophobic type feel. And I was surprised it managed to really harness that so well, to be honest. And you feel, obviously you can't genuinely feel the heat, but psychologically you can feel the heat from the lava and the fire. And that in itself is surprising because it takes a lot of work for a game to do well in that respect. That said, the playtest did start to show its rough edges. The main issue for me was repetition. After a while, the structure of the run started to feel a bit too familiar, and the same animation and voice lines every time you leave base and head out to town begins to stand out more than it should. The loading back and forth also does not help. Going from the town back to your base has a noticeable load, and over time that slows the pace down enough that the momentum starts to dip. The audio does some good work early on too. The music is subtle and atmospheric, and the sound effects fit the setting well, but again after a while I did feel the lack of variation a bit. It's not that the sound is bad, it's just that it needs a little more change up to keep the tension a bit fresher. The gameplay repetition as well is a little bit too much for me. Now yes, you are doing the same thing over again because that is what the game is, but you do feel like there is a lack of variation and perhaps even a lack of materials that you can find. Maybe I've just not been lucky enough to find too many things, but you've got your basics: wood, stone, scrap, food. There's other stuff as well, bits of porcelain and pottery and whatnot, but nothing feels particularly too imaginative, but that might just be my view, of course, but it just felt to be a bit samey after a while, unfortunately. It did make me think of This War of Mine a little bit, in the sense that you are leaving a safe space, going into a dangerous world, scavenging what you can, and bringing it back to help others survive. It's the same loop, right? But this is obviously a different angle, because here it is third person, and the threat is fire, heat, and a volcanic disaster, rather than war. That comparison probably helps explain why I'm interested in it. There is a solid idea here. It is not just about survival for survival's sake. It's about rescue, pressure, and trying to keep a community alive while the world is actively collapsing, which does feel a little bit like real life sometimes, I can tell you, the things you read in the news these days. Because this is only a playtest, I'm not going to pretend I've seen the full picture. That is kind of the point. A playtest should leave you curious. And Into the Fire absolutely did that for me. Right now, I would say it has a strong premise, a good atmosphere, and a satisfying core loop. Although slightly repetitive after a while, as I mentioned. But it also feels like it needs more depth, more variety, and a bit more polish if it wants to really stick the landing. So at the moment, I'm intrigued more than fully convinced. I will definitely be keeping an eye on it, because there is a version of this game that could end up being really good. There is also a version where it ends up feeling a bit shallow and forgettable. And that's where I am right now. Interested, cautiously optimistic, but waiting to see how much it grows from here. It's definitely got my attention, even if it's not fully there yet. I hope you've liked the video, and yeah, if you've played this yourself, let me know how you've got on. If you've got any feelings about it that I might have got wrong or anything additional, it'd be good to put it in the comment section, and do like and subscribe. Take care. Bye bye.